The iPhone 16 Pro Max has now been out for a whole month, and my thoughts on this phone have absolutely changed. The reality is this: I think this is an absolutely great phone, but there are some issues that I have with it, and I was actually wrong about something that I'm very surprised about, so let's jump into it. So just to get some context, I have used iPhones since the very first iPhone came out. I absolutely love iPhones. I love the Apple ecosystem, so I might be a little bit biased. I've never used Android, so if you're on here and you're like, can I decide between Android or not? Maybe I'm not the best representation of it, just being completely honest. But I do really like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It wasn't a massive upgrade as they have been in years past, but seriously, since about the 13 Pro, we haven't seen many massive jumps in upgrades. That's because iPhones are essentially as good as they really need to be for right now. I've never had a single moment where I've had this iPhone and I feel like I needed more power. I mean, it works so incredibly well for what I need it to work for, and so honestly, upgrading every year, it's just completely out of the question now. But after a whole month of use of the iPhone 16 Pro Max, what are my real thoughts? So first and foremost, let's talk about the screen on this iPhone. It is really big, if you didn't know that. I mean, 6.9 inches, is it? 6.9? Yes, I just double checked. Yes, it is 16.9. That is absolutely massive. Now, I thought for me that this big of a screen, that was gonna be an issue for me. Like I said in the past, I love the iPhone mini. It was one of my favorite iPhones that has ever come out, but I thought this was gonna be too big for me in my pocket. I've said this in the past, I carry around with me every single day a field notes. I carry around, you know, a big old pen, a brass pen. Sometimes I carry around my pew-pew. And having more stuff in my pockets is not always what I want. But this iPhone, I thought it was gonna be way too big, and here's the thing. After a few days of use, the first few days, yes, it did feel absolutely too big, but after a few short days, this thing actually felt like it fit in my pocket perfectly fine. It turns out, as human beings who are able to adjust to pretty much anything, we're able to adjust to a couple extra inches of a phone in your pocket. Now that all really depends on the size of case that you get. That's why I'm so thankful for Pitaka for sponsoring today's video. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is absolutely enormous, but when you have one of these Pitaka cases, they are absolutely razor thin with full protection on the entire phone. It's got the cutout for the camera button that you like. I love that the camera bump, it is just the slightest bit bigger than the camera, so your cameras are protected, and it's not massive and bulky. In my mind, these are the most aesthetic cases that I've ever seen because of the size and the beautiful aramid fiber. It's a woven fiber technology. Absolutely beautiful. And what makes them so aesthetic is they have this fusion weaving technology, which means that they have different colors on one spool of the fiber, and so they can just seamlessly make it look absolutely beautiful. And I've also dropped my phone 3 times with this case on from my car and haven't had any problem. And so yes, it is thin, it is light, yet it really does protect your phone. The other thing I love about these Pitaka cases, they are MagSafe compatible, and so they've got these different rings that you can put your finger through, and they are actually color matched with the certain case that you get. Look at how good that looks. So if you want to get one of these beautiful Pitaka cases, go ahead and click the link in the description below. Thank you again, Pitaka, for sponsoring today's video. Next, let's talk about what this phone is actually made of. This is that black titanium look, and man, I absolutely love that. Now, granted, I do put a case on it. Like I just said, I use that Pitaka, the beautiful looking case. But when I take a case off, this thing just looks absolutely stunning. That might be a reason why somebody might want a clear case on this guy, but it is just, I mean, it's just an absolutely gorgeous phone. There's no way around it. Now, as you can see on the 16 Pro Max, it has the 3 cameras, which means it's got the regular camera, the wide angle camera, and the telephoto. The wide angle this year got an upgrade, and it looks absolutely fantastic. That's actually the one that I use the absolute most. I love the wide angle lens on iPhones. You know, call me crazy. I come from YouTube from about 6-7 years ago when wide angles were everything, and so I love that wide angle lens. What I don't love is this right here, the camera button. Guess how many times I've used it? 0. I have literally used the camera button 0 times. It's not as intuitive as all the other things that Apple's done. You know what it's not as intuitive as? It's just hitting a little button right there on the front of the screen. And so yes, it is nice to have, like I said, that nicer wide angle lens, all that. It's got a couple different focal lengths on the regular camera. It's got the regular telephoto, the extra telephoto. I mean, that's kind of cool. You can get like macro photography stuff. Awesome, right? But in the end, I'm taking pictures of my kids. Like, if I really need to take good photos, I'm gonna use my good camera. And I get it. That's not everybody. Not everybody has a really nice camera. And so these are great cameras to do that. I don't think that they're so much better than the iPhone 16 or the 15 Pro. Honestly, like I said in one of my last videos, I would probably go with the 15 Pro over any of these, but I run a tech channel, so I have to have the new one. But if you're gonna get this because of the functionality of the camera button, I just don't think it's that worth it. Like, maybe you could teach yourself to use it a lot. Maybe if like you're an iPhone only photographer or videographer, you would use it. But as somebody who's been using iPhone since the iPhone, the first one that came out, I'm just not gonna get used to that new button. Now, it would be great to have another button that could be remapped with something like a Shortcuts app. I don't know if they're gonna do that or not, but that would be a great little alternative for those of us who just aren't gonna use it for what it is. Next, let's talk about battery life on this thing. The battery life is absolutely insane. I mean, that's probably where this thing shines the absolute most. It lasts all day and then some. Like, I get into bed at the end of a day and I still have like 40% of my battery left. That is pretty wild, because when I came from the iPhone 15 Pro, it would last a full day, no problem. It would last about a day and a quarter, maybe. But this iPhone just blows stuff out of the water. Battery life is absolutely phenomenal. I haven't really felt it heat up at all. People are so concerned with heat in their phones. It's not a problem. So, you know, if battery life is like your main concern, go with something like the 16 or the 16 Pro, because they are better batteries, but it's not game changing. Like, I don't think that's a reason to upgrade from something like the 15 Pro to the 16 Pro Max. Battery life is good, but it's just not gonna change your life. Let's just talk about sound quality of these speakers. They sound fantastic. I haven't had any time where I've been listening to something and it breaks up or anything like that, so I really highly recommend this for just good quality sound. The USB-C port can be used with something like an external SSD, which is great, because if you do film on log on here, those are humongous files. You're going to want something like an external SSD to record to. It is plenty fast enough for that. Charging on this thing has been fantastic. If you use a plug-in for it, you're gonna be just fine. It's gonna charge up super fast. If you use Qi charging like I use, I think that's the best way to go. A lot of people disagree with me. I found out in a video. But Qi charging on this thing is pretty darn fast. I put it on the Qi charger. I go have dinner or something like that, come back, my phone is at least 50% if it's very low. So, real life use case, the battery life on this is so good though that charging speed's probably not even that important, because if you're just smart and you charge your phone at night, it's gonna last you more than enough time. So don't be stupid. So how's my experience been with the 16 Pro Max? So far it has been good, and just as a kind of conclusion thought, I was totally wrong about the 6.9-inch display. I thought it was gonna be too big. Turns out it's not, and you get used to whatever you use consistently. I've said that before with the screen, 120 hertz versus 60 hertz. You just get used to what you have, and that's how your mind works. Your brain is very powerful. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of the 16 Pro Max. Is it worth the upgrade? Is it not worth the upgrade? Have you used something like the camera button? Tell me. I'll see you guys in the next one.